Well, sure, and I think that first bullet point listed there, retirement dates and Social Security eligibility dates, a lot of people will think that has to be the same day. Most common, someone will retire and think, let's claim our Social Security benefit as well, when in reality they don't have to match at all. And we'll look at some strategies here in just a moment that maybe they shouldn't be the same time. Another misconception is people forget about penalties for claiming Social Security while working. Some people will think that I'm the age of 62, I can claim my Social Security benefit. That's what I should do because I want to get as much as I possibly can out of it. They'll forget something called the income earnings cap. If you claim your Social Security benefit under your full retirement age, they're going to reduce your benefit $1 for every $2 that you make over a certain income level. Right now, that's about $15,000 per year. So, for the bulk of our listeners today, that would probably completely wipe out the Social Security benefit if they were to claim at 62. Another strategy or another misconception, you should always claim at a certain age. Some people say, again, always 62, so that you get the most out of your benefit. Others say always the age of 70, so that you can maximize your benefit. In reality, the best is probably somewhere between that for your own situation. Others are concerned that Social Security will not be around when you need it. On our next slide, we'll look at some things that will hopefully alleviate some of those concerns. Then the final one, claiming a spousal benefit will impact the primary earner. Again, we'll talk about spousal benefit strategies here in a moment, but in reality, there's really no impact to that primary earner if you do go ahead and claim a spousal benefit. So a few common misconceptions. Certainly, we've all heard the problems with Social Security and perhaps the longevity of it. In the not too distant future here, 2037. It is projected that the trust fund would deplete, and then at that point, Social Security would only be able to pay about 78 cents on the dollar of the given benefits. So clearly something needs to be done. There's many proposals that have been out there for many years now, but on our next slide, we'll take a look at three prominent proposals and their impact on today's retirees. So the first listed there is to raise the full retirement age, and this has been done many times throughout the course of Social Security. Just as an example, for those born 1937 and before, the full retirement age was 65. For those born between 1943 and 1954, so maybe the majority of our listeners today, that full retirement age is the age of 66. Those born after 1960, that is, the full retirement is now the age of 67. So the thought would be, maybe for those born 1980 and later, or just, something like that as an example, maybe their full retirement age is 68 or 69 or something like that. Second bullet point, freezing the purchasing power. Basically, that would mean no cost of living adjustments. And essentially there, you would not be able to keep pace with inflation. This could be very detrimental to those who really rely on Social Security for the bulk of their retirement income. So perhaps is not one of the best proposals out there. And finally, cutting benefits for higher income earners. This has been something that's been out there for a while as well. I think the Warren Buffetts of the world have put this out there as a proposal, and certainly that's maybe an example of someone who may not need their Social Security benefit, but at any rate, that's something that's been proposed as well, all with the idea of extending the longevity of that Social Security trust fund. I think the important thing to consider is that all of these proposals, they've always mentioned that there's protection for those 55 and over. So for the bulk of our listeners today, I think you can rely pretty heavily on the information that you have from Social Security today. If you look at your statements, that amount should be relatively safe and secure.
All right, Scott, we're just about to jump into case study one, but there's a lot of phrases that I've already heard you mention today, like spousal benefits and full retirement age and maximum claiming age, things like that. Can you just walk us through quickly what are some of the core concepts that we need to be familiar with so we can all keep up with the case studies?
Yeah, absolutely. So full retirement age, again, varies for different age groups, but what that means is that full retirement age, you will not have a decreased benefit. So for those born between 1943, 1954, that's the age of 66. 1960 and after, that increases to 67, and then those between 1954 and 1960 are somewhere between 66 and 67. Benefits, the benefit of waiting past your full retirement age to claim your Social Security benefits. What we see on the screen there, and for every year that you delay past your full retirement age, your benefit will grow by 8% per year. So that's the benefit of waiting. Those bottom two, the spousal benefit and the file and suspend strategy, those kind of work together. So file and suspend, you claim your benefit and then immediately suspend it. And what that then allows a spouse to do is file for something called a spousal benefit and a restricted application for that. So those are a couple of things we'll cover in a moment here, but these are kind of the core concepts to have a good understanding as we move forward in our discussion today.
All right, let's switch gears now and jump into our first case study, number 1. So this one is going to focus on kind of incorporating a couple of the more complex ideas that you've talked about, Scott, and also incorporate some of the claiming strategies that are going to be going away in the near future too. So we'll let you talk through how this couple might approach Social Security. So their fact situation is it's a married couple, Bill and Mary. Bill's age 67, currently working as a professor who has no immediate plans to retire in the near future. Mary, who was also a professor, is retired at age 65. They feel overall fairly confident with their financial situation. They both did a good job of saving through the university retirement plans. They've got about $1.5 million saved in there. Bill has a group life insurance that's in place. They own their home without a mortgage at this point, and they have some money in the bank, about $50,000 in a checking and savings account. So their three main goals are as follows. One is they'd like to maximize the potential dollar amount benefit that they could get over their life expectancy. Their second goal is that they like to maximize the survivor benefit. They're trying to replicate, their fairly healthy incomes into retirement, and when the first spouse passes, they would like to ensure that the surviving spouse has the highest possible Social Security benefit remaining after that point. So they'd like to look at that. And then their third goal is, if they can, they like the group life insurance that's in place right now. For Bill, they know that if he were to pass away, that's $250,000 that could be transferred either to Mary or their children totally tax-free, and that's something that they like having in place. They would like to see if they could maybe purchase a private insurance policy that would remain in place into retirement, or one that even incorporates long-term care coverage as well. So looking at their goals and their fact situation, Scott, how should they start to approach Social Security?
Well, James, they certainly have some lofty goals, but I think we can look at some very viable ways to help them meet those goals. We'll start with an overview of kind of two different scenarios for Bill and Mary, and then take a look at a timeline that I think will help to clear things up. So stick with us here. I think the timeline will certainly help. But scenario one, both Bill and Mary elect to begin receiving their benefits immediately. And, I kind of mentioned it earlier as well, but this is a very common occurrence. So one spouse will retire, and, they kind of think, we're retiring, we might as well go ahead and collect our Social Security benefits, and this is very common. So in this example, Bill would claim his benefit, $2,852 per month. Mary would claim her benefit of $1,586 per month. So these will be their benefits going forward. They'll receive cost of living adjustments and some other things, but the total benefit projected over the next 20 years is that amount listed there, $1,065,000. Now, if they made a little bit of a change, and we'll look at scenario two here, and they'll implement the file and suspend strategy and the restricted application that we talked about. So Bill applies for his personal benefit and then immediately defers that benefit. What this does is then allows Mary to apply for a restricted application for her spousal benefit only. And then they both wait until their own individual ages of 70 to apply for their personal benefits. So Mary would receive a spousal benefit of $1,284 per month. At the age of 70, Bill would receive his benefit of $3,787 per month. Mary's benefit would increase to $2,576 because that's what her personal benefit would increase to over the years. So they've already met one of their goals here then. They have maximized what's called the survivor benefits. So the way that Social Security works is that if one of them were to pass away, the larger of the two benefits is what would continue. So they've maximized Bill's benefits. They've also maximized that it's the total benefit they'll receive projected over the next 20 years. That's that $1.283 million figure that we have listed there. So just by changing a little bit the way that they've claimed their benefits, they've increased that value over the next 20 years by over $200,000. So again, here's our timeline. This is the kind of scenario one where they just go ahead and claim their benefits. Mary, again, claiming before her full retirement age, so she's locked into that $1,586, and Bill claiming at 67 for the $2,852 benefit per month. If we fast forward to the scenario two, again, Mary applies, and again, they want to wait until her full retirement age of 66 to implement this strategy. But basically, at her age 66, Bill applies for his benefit, immediately defers. Mary files a restricted application for her benefit, begins receiving that $1,284 per month. And again, they can do a lot of things with that additional income per month. And we've already said they've maximized their benefit amounts, goal number one. They've maximized their survivor benefit, goal number two. But three, they talked about replacing that group life insurance, maybe looking at some type of long-term care coverage. Perhaps that $1,284 can go towards something like that. And then at the age of 70, again, Bill gets his full benefits, and Mary also steps up to her personal benefit of the $2,576 per month.
So, Scott, definitely advantageous for them to incorporate that strategy that you talked about, the file and suspend and restricted application. So just to kind of recap, option one is they could both claim now. However, by doing that, Mary would get a permanently reduced benefit. Their lifetime benefit would not be maximized, and the survivor benefit would be less. It would be Bill's current amount of $2,852. By implementing the file and suspend and restricted application that you talked about, the survivor benefit would increase almost $1,000 to $3,787 per month. They would have a current income stream where they could use that to purchase some kind of life insurance or long-term care insurance or a combination of the both. And then their total lifetime benefit would be increased by over $200,000. So really, really advantageous for them to incorporate that. So thanks for walking us through that, Scott.